Hi, I'm Jim W6LG, your ham radio Elmer. Welcome to my radio room here in Rockland, California. I bought one of these boxes from Home Depot. The reason why I bought it is I wanted to demonstrate a way to form a common point bonding to ground for your ham radio station, whether you're on the second floor or the 30th floor, or I'm on the wrong side of the house. Don't drive a ground rod unless you're going to follow the National Electric Code, the section related to ground rods. A ground rod should not be driven next to your station in most cases. So what I'm going to do is show you a different way to do that safety ground and to keep all boxes at the same potential. So we're going to run ground straps to a common point. The ground strap could be wire. I prefer braid. Some folks don't like braid. I do. Reason being, it has very low impedance over relatively long distances. So if one box is 3 feet to that common point ground and another box is 6 feet, basically they're at the same potential. And that's my goal. I want all boxes on the desktop. SWR meters, if there's a separate scope like a P3, the transceivers, the linear amplifiers, all connected to a common point ground. And let me show you the way that I'm going to do it this afternoon. This is a box from Belkin, sold on Amazon. I'm going to take one of these boxes, I've got two, and drill a series of holes down the side, either 6, 7 holes, not sure yet. And I'm going to insert a 1/4 20 screw that's about an inch long, and that might be, what, 12 centimeters? And then put a 1/4 20 nut on it with a lock washer, a split washer, and then a couple of more washers and a wing nut on the top of that. And this is going to be my common point ground for my electrical service. And that little pin is all I need, plugs into the wall, and I've got everything tied to the common point ground. If I've got a source that's really close, I would take one of those screw terminals and run a strap over to that. And let me show you the kind of strap that I'm using. Here's the strap that I'm using, and there's a lawnmower going, gardener next door, which you may be able to hear. That's the noise in the background. This is what I'm using now. Some don't like this. I do, because I've never had it corrode to the point where its impedance was anything but incredibly low per foot. And when you weren't looking, I've drilled the holes in the Belkin box and started to put on the wing nuts. So here's my box. I ended up doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I put the 1/4 20 screws in. I had to open up the box, removing the screws on the side. And so I've got a 1/4 20 nut and a split washer. I'm going to really crank these down so they're tight. And this is going to be my common point ground. So all the equipment in the station is going to go to this common point, and then the plug is going to go into the wall. And that's my safety ground, if you will. Sure as heck, I'm not going to violate the electrical code by driving a ground rod outside and connecting to that unless I follow exactly the code, which is a series of ground rods around to the common point ground, the inner system, I forget what they call it, which is located below the main panel or service panel. There's a box somewhere, maybe in the wall, with a cover plate to make it weatherproof. There's a 4-inch by 4-inch box, and it's connected to the OOFER ground or ground rods, depending on when the house is built. I don't need to connect directly to that. I'm going to use this box, and I'm going to use these straps, which I've had for a very long time. Yes, they're off of RG213. They're not corroded. These have been around. These are maybe, I don't know how old they are, but they're plenty old, and they're not corroded. So I'm going to connect that, and I'm going to use a product that a friend sent to me, and I'm going to stick the cables, the ground rods, into this, and it's a plastic conduit with a device to split it open. And this is going to be, I'm going to try to neaten up the wiring, which is really awful. And I'm going to put the ground strap in these things. So it'd be like shelf 1, shelf 2, something like that. And as I said, there's a, if that's still on here, yeah, it is. There's a tool that you use to insert into the conduit, and it just, if you do it right, you have to watch the video, it just slips along. If you don't do it exactly like they show in the video, it doesn't work. These are on Amazon. If you're interested, I'll put a link. It's about probably a hair under 1 inch diameter, and a lot of cables and wires can go in these things. So if you're on the second floor, or if you're in an apartment or a place where you're still trying to achieve a bond between each of the boxes, so each box will have its own strap. Don't daisy chain. The reason for that is you get a voltage gradient. This one may be at a different voltage than this one. This one could be higher, this one could be lower, and that you don't want. You want them all at the same potential, and I'm going to bond as many things as I can. Well, I hope you found that interesting. Some may object to my system for bonding that eventually leads to the ground, but I did it for 40 years on Wolf Mountain and never had a problem. I'm just trying to get all the stuff at the same potential. If there is something else floating around the room, it's going to be at the same potential. I'm Jim, W6LG, your ham radio Elmer here on YouTube. Yeah, please subscribe, hit the like button, whatever else is down there. Add a comment. If you don't like what I'm suggesting, tell us why. It's always interesting to read the comments, whether they're positive or negative. Comments are good things.